There are almost 1 million people in Australia that need work, and that's a problem. A problem for them, for their families, for our whole economy. But for others, it's a windfall. For a few private companies, mass unemployment means major profit. And while those without jobs see their income support slashed, these companies with funding from our own government are finding ways to make millions off the struggle. This is how people are getting rich from your unemployment.
How to get that job? 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 How to get that job?
I would just like to know how you turned your small typing school into a big employment services business.
This is Serena Russo. She's one of the wealthiest women in Australia. Russo has built an unemployment empire, and along with giants like Max and APM, her company is contracted by the government to take unemployed people, train them, prep them, and find them work. The program is called Job Active. In March 2020, at the beginning of Australia's pandemic, Scott Morrison announced, "We will get through this together,
Australia."
But in the past 6 months, we were far from together. More than 1 million unemployed people had their income support raised and then slashed. And after years and hundreds of calls to raise the rate,
New Start Youth Allowance have not had a real increase in 25 years.
There are fresh calls for the government to boost New
I think
Start.
the first thing that we should be doing is raising New Start.
the government proposed a permanent increase of $3.57 a day. At the same time, private job agencies were flush with cash. Serena Russo, Max Employment and APM were chipped to pocket almost $700 million out of the pandemic payments, for a total of $2 billion in government funds. So with all of that funding, are they effectively supporting people into work? Not quite. And the reason for that is baked into their funding model. Job agencies get a payout for each person on their books and for every unemployment outcome or job found. The fundamental problem here is that there are about 8 job seekers for every available job. So genuinely finding work for people is at best hard and at worst impossible. Either way, it's not profitable and profit is the name of the game. So agencies are getting sneaky about the work they do and the people they take on. Those who are recently out of work are the easiest to place back into work. People with lots of qualifications and recent experience are a good bet for an employment outcome payout. Long-term unemployed people, on the other hand, who need time and support, they cost a little more to manage, so they're shoved down the priority list.
Is there any evidence at all that they have put you forward for jobs in that area?
No.
The practice is so widespread that it's got a name: creaming and parking.
They would take their first fee from the government for taking them on, and then they would quickly work out that it was going to cost them too much resources to get them skilled, so they'd just park them and forget about them.
And while we don't know which companies specifically are guilty of this, reports show that it is widespread across the industry. The funding model also incentivises agencies to push people into short-term, unstable employment. This 2018 report found that when people cycle in and out of short-term work, their job active provider can continue to receive outcome payments. In other words, providers are rewarded financially for churning people through jobs that don't last. It will not shock you to learn that a 2019 paper reported 2/3 of people in the job active system were stuck in it, unemployed for longer than 12 months, and 1/5 for longer than 5 years. Job agencies can also get paid by the government to run training for job seekers, and the more course attendees, the bigger the profit.
Is it real training?
No.
Unemployment going down would really mean these agencies' profits going down too. So those agencies that are more interested in profit than people don't have any reason to genuinely help us. They stand to earn more when they do the opposite. And they're not the only ones.
You know, every person we get in a job, get people back into
We're
jobs.
about jobs.
Job creation.
There are more jobs being created.
The way these men talk about it, you'd think they'd want us all to have jobs.
And our grandchildren's
Our focus will
jobs.
be on jobs.
We will work night and day to get you into a job.
In truth, keeping a portion of the workforce desperate for employment is actually in their interest. In order to hold inflation down, Liberal policymakers want to keep about 5% of us out of work. This 5% figure is called the non-accelerating inflation rate of unemployment, or NAIRU. Here's how the Reserve Bank puts it. When the observed unemployment rate is above the NAIRU, there is spare capacity in the labour market and downward pressure on wage growth and inflation. In other words, when there is more competition for work, people will work for less money in poorer conditions. An unemployment gap keeps labour cheap. It allows corporations to exploit workers for whom the alternative is poverty and social stigma, and line their own pockets in the process. Unemployment is a deliberate policy position chosen by our government, a position that only benefits corporations and job providers. So what do you do when you want to seem like you're for jobs?
Job.
When you're really only kind of for jobs? You shift the blame.
Prime Minister Scott Morrison says higher unemployment payments may be discouraging people from re-entering the workforce.
Unemployed Australians who abuse the welfare system are being hit in the pocket.
We can't just keep paying people to sit on the couch and play the Xbox.
The best form of welfare is a job.
Instead of acknowledging that there aren't enough jobs and that the privatised employment programs are ineffective, they vilify and punish those of us who are out of work. This is what gives rise to mutual obligations, rules enforced by job agencies that police job seekers, hounding them to search for work, attend meetings, attend training, or work for the dole to earn $10 a week, and punishing them by suspending their pay for the smallest infraction, or sometimes no infraction at all. This is the reason for the new government hotline that enables employers to dob in unemployed people who refuse work, even though in the last reporting period, 114 payment suspensions were because of refusal to take a job, out of more than 1 million. That's 0.01% of cases. This is how our government justifies an unemployment income that's $250 a week below the poverty line. An entire system that does very little to help people and a whole lot to demonise and punish them instead.
Suddenly rings me up and says, oh, we're penalising you. I couldn't sleep properly, I couldn't eat. It took me 4 months to appeal against it.
If I have my payments cut again, I'll end up living in my car again. And I won't survive if that happens.
It's dysfunctional and cruel, and we need to take it apart. Over the last few years, fraud and corruption at job agencies were exposed. JobActive staff spoke out against their employers, and unemployed people even went on strike against mutual obligations. The tide is turning, and this year there will likely be a redesign of the employment services system, an opportunity to break this poverty machine and replace it with something better, something that deprioritises private profit and works for the people.